What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move in excellence. And as I've told you guys before, I will do my best to bring you the most accurate information as quickly as I can. I got this memo from somebody incarcerated in Solano. I reached out to some other folks that are over at Solano, and the memo kind of speaks for itself. There are still some questions, but it says a lot. And there's been a lot of talk about Solano and Bulldogs coming and this and that. I did a video about it, that I'll post up there in terms of the last incident. But without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to read you the memo in case you're not able to watch this video and you're just listening to it. And then I'll find a way to post it on my community page like I did the last memo that came out about the incident between the two guys from Fresno that came to the yard and were assaulted by Northerners, Southerners, and some Mexican nationals. So here we go. Men's Advisory Council, date 5/24/2022, to the Brita Correctional Captain, from Arguero, Executive Chairman. Subject: populations questions for Town Hall meeting. The following participated in Town Hall meeting: MAC and various other ethnic representatives from C&D facility, Captains Brita and Guerrero, and CO Aldax. Side note, for those that are unfamiliar with what MAC is, or the Men's Advisory Council, those are incarcerated people that are assigned to be a liaison or a go-between between the staff and other incarcerated folks. A lot of times there's one per group segment. Some group segments do not allow their people to be MAC reps. And so that's essentially what they are. All right, meeting began at approximately 11:15 in level 2 gym. Upon opening the meeting, Captain Brita apologized that priority ducats were not issued, but in the future they will be. Side note, I spoke with some folks on the level 2 side and they had no knowledge of this meeting. So take that for what it is. The following questions were generated by both MAC and the population. April 12th, 2022, memorandum titled Housing of All Incarcerated Persons to Expand Rehabilitative Programming states, quote, the primary objective of these changes is to allow all incarcerated persons, regardless of their STG, which is security threat group status, opportunities to focus more on educational goals and rehabilitative programming and achieve greater personal success and societal integration, end quote. And that's language that reflects these integrated yards, or what some people call 50-50 yards, which is interesting. However, Title 15, Section 3271 explicitly states, quote, every employee, regardless of his or her assignment, is responsible for the safe custody of the inmates confined in the institutions of the department, end quote. Just because new law requires equal opportunity for all incarcerated people, it doesn't mean to haphazardly jeopardize the safety of incarcerated people in the process. Therefore, what is CSP Solano's plan to safely and successfully integrate security threat group Bulldogs into level 2 dorm settings and offer progressive programming? So side note, they're not talking about, the question is not necessarily speaking about integrating and making it a 50-50 yard, even though they cite some language that is intended to apply to that. They're talking specifically about Bulldogs. And you'll notice that generally everything in this memo is talking about Bulldogs. And I'll kind of give some feedback at the end. Anyways, answer, an operational plan is currently being developed to designate building 7. Side note, that's a building on the level 3 side. It'd be on what's considered B yard as the orientation building for Bulldogs. Orientation will be about 10 to 14 days. During that time, Bulldogs will have yard, canteen, and go to dining hall on level 3. After orientation, Bulldogs will be housed, placed in accordance with the availability throughout the level 2 facilities. If conflict exists between security threat groups in relation to the housing of Bulldogs, a threat assessment will immediately be conducted to isolate and remove disturbance. Typically, threat assessments should be for no more than 3 days, in which thereafter all programs will resume if it is determined to be an isolated manner. However, this process may change if continuous conflict persists. Administration will not deem disturbances as isolated. Level 2 will increase searches by both random pat downs and searching of the yard to eliminate the presence of weapons. Side note, that's been happening now since at least when that incident that I referenced earlier happened. I have some other thoughts on this, but I want to get through the memo first and then we'll circle back. 2, if conflict exists with security threat groups specifically related with integrating Bulldogs into level 2 setting, to what extent will it affect the programming of the general population? Specifically, will canteen packages, education/vocation, religious services, and other work assignments be stalled or modified for those who do not participate in conflict? After threat assessments are complete, all programs will resume. 3, will security threat group Bulldogs be placed in one building or will they be dispersed throughout all buildings? Answer, they will be placed throughout all level 2 facilities according to availability, i.e. housed in the same manner as the rest of the population. 4, a letter to all California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation staff dated April 11, 2022 states, quote, incarcerated persons who cooperated with the department's housing strategy may be eligible to be housed in a prison with a lower security level via the behavioral override administrative determinant, end quote. How will CSP Solano implement this incentive and will it also apply to non-security threat groups? What does the statement, including quote unquote cooperate, mean? Answer, captains will need to look further into this matter. Captain believes this may refer to future incentives that are intended to facilitate the transition. Question 4, can inmates voluntarily transfer to avoid any conflict? Answer, captain does not know, but will look into this matter. Captain suggested the population should make requests to assign counselor. Question 6, why was level 2 yard schedule changed a month before the Bulldogs are expected to arrive at CSP Solano? Level 2 yard schedule was changed due to the accumulation of recent incidents. Associate warden and captains for both C and D, both facilities C and D, decided to change to yard schedule to better secure the facility. However, based on MAC input, captains are willing to entertain a proposal to better address the yard schedule. 7, will official town hall teleconferences be scheduled by the Division of Adult Institutions, or will there only be an informal, without teleconferences, available for communication platform? Answer, teleconferences have not been scheduled yet, but should be soon. Side note, I don't know how the teleconference schedule works in terms of civilians or outside participants being able to engage. I would imagine it's limited if it exists at all. Other questions presented. 9. Oh, I'm sorry. Question number 8. Will Bulldogs participate in town hall teleconferences? Answer, captains are not certain, but believe that it may be necessary and they should participate. Question 9. Certain security threat groups are randomly selected to transfer to other facilities. Can security threat groups select what prison they would prefer to transfer to? Answer, upon classification, inmates can make a request, but overall determination resides with committee endorsements to available and appropriate facilities. Question 10, for certain LWOP, which is life without the possibility of parole, security threat groups randomly be selected to transfer. There is only certain security level 2s, certain secure level 2s that LWOPs can be housed in. If LWOPs were removed, they are concerned that they will be overridden to higher levels in which they work several years to arrive at a lower level. Answer, captains do not know who will be randomly selected, but thought this was an interesting question to quote unquote bubble up. 11, MAC is concerned why only one security threat group from this facility is selected to transfer from this facility involuntarily, because this amounts to discrimination. Captains do not know, but look into this matter. I'll touch on that in a minute. Last page, number 12. When and if Bulldogs arrive, will accommodations be made for them, such as providing more yard tables and exercise equipment? Answer, captains said accommodations will not be made specifically for the presence of Bulldogs, but if population generally increases, more yard tables and other necessities can be supported. 13, currently security threat groups are not assigned to certain work assignments, such as IDL. With new programming measures ensuring equal programming opportunities, will IDL and other programs begin to permit security threat groups to be assigned? Captain was not aware security threat groups were restricted from certain assignments, but will look into this matter. 14, what prisons are available for security threat groups? Answer, all inmates are classified case by committees that take into account program needs, but will be treated the same as general population and sent to any available and appropriate facility. 15, will medical high-risk security threat group inmates be forced to transfer? Answer, medical health concerns of inmates will always be taken into account as priority for appropriate medical attention and housing. Other topics discussed at meeting. Beginning June 1st, 2 buildings will program together Monday through Friday. Weekends will be reserved for all A1A inmates. I believe that applies to the level 3 yards because they're just dorms. I'm not sure, to be honest. Recently, GTL tablets were restricted from being brought out to the yard. However, Captain said he will talk to Lieutenant and stated GTL tablets are not restricted from, but may be brought out to yard. Informal town hall meetings will be held every other Tuesday at 11 a.m. until further notice. Formal teleconference town hall meetings will be scheduled by the Division of Adult Institutions. Okay, that concludes this memo dated May 24th, 2022, based on the town hall. So, some thoughts. First, I need some water. That was a lot of reading out loud. So, some other things I'm aware of. Approximately 300 Northerners from Solano, just around the whole prison, not any particular yard or any particular security level, are in the process of being transferred out, right? So some have gone to Folsom already. There is some that have gone to Centinela, to Ironwood. It's not clear 100% if those individuals are going to S&Y yards, or I'm sorry, going to integrated yards or not. I have reason to believe that at least some of them are going to yards that are not currently integrated, right? I can't prove that right now, but I have reason to believe that based on some folks that I've talked to. And it sounds like these folks being shipped out are not necessarily being shipped out to be, going to 50-50 yards, though I would presume some of them are. The rumor is, and I think it's a credible rumor, but it's not proven beyond, proven absolutely, is that the Southerners, right, the Southsiders and their leadership have made an arrangement in which those from the North can set up shop in prisons down South, which historically do not house Northerners that really rock with the program, right? In the past, if you're a Northerner, you go down there. If you stay down there, you're probably going to face some pretty harsh treatment from the other group segments, and you're going to be considered deemed or no good should you return to a prison up north or a prison where there's an established Northerner household. So that is apparently out of the picture, and it would make sense given the politics of the end of hostilities, right? And as I had mentioned yesterday in a video that I strongly encourage you guys to check out, the timing of it is eerie, where I talked about what's really at stake, right? And so it's, again, I'll link to that there. It's eerie, right? And so some other thoughts. The memo seems to, like I said, to only address Bulldogs, but some of the stuff that they're talking about is reintegration type language, but they don't say explicitly that they're flipping the yard from a general population to a 50-50. And so is bringing the Bulldogs there the start of attempting to flip the yard? There's nothing about people from other group segments being brought over there, or perhaps those who are incarcerated who are asking these questions are particularly preoccupied and particularly interested in the status of Bulldogs coming. Although considering it as a quote unquote active yard, all the level 3s and level 2s in Solano are. I would imagine that they would also have questions about people from 50/50 or S&Y yards coming over, not just Bulldogs. And so there's a little bit of lack of clarity there. It is clear that administration intends for all of Solano to be a 50/50 and integrated yard. Of course, they intend for the entire Department of Corrections to be that way. Now, level 4 transfers are on pause. Those that have dropped points from 180 to 270, in large part, those that are on active yards, those are paused. And so there's just kind of a lack of clarity. But what we do know is Bulldogs are coming soon. They're going to go to building 7. The way I interpret that is while they're in building 7, so while they're on a level 3 yard going through committee status, CTQ status. Well, it didn't say CTQ, but going through committee and classification, that they will have access to the general population on that yard. If that's the case, then of course you would expect bloodshed immediately, unfortunately. And administration knows this. And so at another point, they talk about how, hey, if something happens, then we'll pause generally for 72 hours unless we think something else is going to happen. We're not going to disrupt the program radically over isolated incidences. However, we also are not going to view an incident as isolated. And so, again, there's a little bit of doublespeak in there, right? Are they going to just put the Bulldogs out there, and when something happens, regardless who gets the upper hand, they just lock down for 3 days and then try it again? Or how many times is this going to have to happen for them to acknowledge that this integration is not going to work? Whether it's converting it to an integrated yard across the board, a 50/50, or just the Bulldogs. Either way, the folks at Solano that are currently there are not going to tolerate either one of those things. And the Bulldogs coming to the yard know this. So I would expect them to be prepared to take action as well. So it's not as if there's only going to be one aggressor, right? Again, how it plays out depends on what kind of numbers they put out there. But the same thing would happen if they were to integrate it, if they were to bring people of other group segments there and that are from S&Y yards or other 50/50 yards. Same thing. And those folks have to know that they're going to be targeted, right? This has happened in so many prisons. Everybody sort of knows that in the initial, at least the initial transition, there's bloodshed, right? Now, how long that lasts and how the yard winds up shaking out, I think we've seen that most often the yard turns into a 50/50 integrated yard. But at what cost? And CDC has a history since this started of not publicizing events and of downplaying events that have transpired between those who are already on the yard and those of a different status, if you will, that they're trying to put on the yard. It's happened over and over. It's happened at every prison that has been, flipped. So there's a little bit of doublespeak. There's room for interpretation. When it talks about one security threat group being targeted, I believe that security threat group is those from the north. They're the ones that's primarily getting transferred out. Again, level 2s are already getting sent out. Level 3s are already getting sent out. And so they're the ones that's being targeted in terms of their ability to access vocational things or programs. I'm unaware of how that goes, and hopefully I'll get a little bit more information maybe today. So there you have it, man. There's the memo. I'm sure there will be more memos to follow, but at least as we know it now, the administration is acknowledging that the Bulldogs are coming. They're acknowledging that they're coming soon. The other thing I'd like to note is, from my understanding, when CDC is going to flip a yard, when they're going to turn a quote unquote active yard into a non-active yard or vice versa, they are required to go through this phase of communication between the population on the yard and the administration. And sometimes the population on the yard that's doing the transferring. And that hadn't happened prior, to the best of my knowledge, which had made me think that this is a Bulldog to Solano issue more than it is an integrated let's flip the yard entirely issue, at least right now. Seeing this memo, this seems like the dialogue that needs to take place according to the procedures of CDC in order to flip a yard from active to non-active. And so it'll be interesting how this all plays out, right? Again, the goal is to make Solano a non-active yard. We know that that's CDC's intention. Are the Bulldogs just the scapegoat, right? Or are they just the guinea pigs? Are they the experiment? Let's see what happens when we throw some folks on the yard that the people here are not willing to program with. How much is it going to take to break the will of the active, so to speak, right? Or to break the will of the Bulldogs, although them being a smaller group, I think they have less options, you know. So we'll see. We'll see. Again, it's my effort to bring you guys the facts when I get them. It's my effort to distinguish what I think and what my questions are versus what we know. What we know is in this memo. How that's to be interpreted moving forward, there's some wiggle room in there. And so anyways, help others move in excellence, man. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time because you're worth it, and help your community because it needs it. There's a variety of content you will see links to. Please feel free to check it out. There's other playlists, other videos, you know, about prison, about the streets, about mental health, about addiction, about all sorts of things. And so I encourage you to look around, and we'll go from there, man. You guys take care.